name is Rachel and I'm here today to talk about some non-fiction again. So as you may have seen from the title of this video, I wanted to recommend ways to get into non-fiction if you haven't read non-fiction before, if you're a bit intimidated by non-fiction. This is going to be less recommendations, although there are some recommendations in here if you like what I like. This is more a video on how to find the right non-fiction for you and why that's important. So I just want to go through the ways that I got into non-fiction, the books that made it accessible for me and why they were accessible to me, so that you might be able to apply that and maybe find some non-fiction that you like this November, because non-fiction November is coming up. That's mainly the reason I'm doing this video, but also because I would say I'm someone who likes and enjoys non-fiction now. So I want to talk about how that ended up happening. In terms of my reading, like, I was always into fiction. I read fiction as a child, read it as a teenager. I only really started moving towards non-fiction around the time of my degree. So I did a degree in English literature, and one of the things with the degree is you have to do a lot of like academic reading outside of the actual fiction books that you study, and obviously that's non-fiction academic writing. I did become more aware of non-fiction and read a lot more non-fiction when I moved towards university, but I wouldn't say I ever read it for pleasure. It was always just for my degree. So after university is when I would say I stopped sleeping on non-fiction basically. So the first thing that I want to say is find the books and the mediums that you like already. We're going to focus on mediums specifically because that's one of the big things for me. So I love audiobooks, and one of the first things that I got into that was non-fiction was non-fiction autobiographies of famous people. I wouldn't read one if it wasn't read by the actual person who wrote the book. I remember there was a period where I just read like one after the other. I went through these books and absolutely adored them. I have my favourite one that I've ever read here, which is Amy Schumer's The Girl with the Lower Back Tattoo. Absolutely adore this book. Just, it's a fantastic book in itself. It's a fantastic autobiography. Amy Schumer obviously voices the audiobook and I absolutely love that. Another one I read was Yes Please by Amy Poehler, which I really enjoyed. I read Bossypants by Tina Fey, Alec Baldwin's autobiography as well. I can't remember what his autobiography was called. It might be called Nevertheless, but I can't remember specifically. But what you might notice from all the ones that I've just mentioned is that they are very similar. They are all part of comedies. That's the main reason that I chose them. Amy Schumer, I find her stand-up really, really funny. Tina Fey and Alec Baldwin, I was obsessed with 30 Rock when it was on. I love most things that Tina Fey has done with Amy Poehler, whether that's films, like I used to be obsessed with Baby Mama. I thought that film was hilarious. Also just the stuff like the Hillary Clinton and what is that girl called? I can see her in my head very clearly. The American politician lady with the hair and the glasses. It'll come back to me. That's really funny as well. So it was like, I picked people that had a very vested interest in work that they had done previously. So obviously Alec Baldwin was also in 30. Sarah Palin. Hillary Clinton and Sarah Palin. That's what the sketches were. I absolutely was obsessed with Parks and Recreation. It's one of my favourite shows of all time. So Amy Poehler was a good person for me to read. Find things that, number one, are in the medium you like. I really love audiobooks. Look for things you already are interested in. So I was really interested in those people and interested in finding out more about their specific lives. So that was a great way to get me into non-fiction, and especially to get me into light non-fiction. Autobiographies are quite easy to read. It's not like reading an essay collection, if you get my drift. So yeah, they were a great place for me to start. And another great place for me to start was with another medium, which was graphic novels. I'm a huge graphic novel person. I really love them. I got into them a few years ago, and I remember, well, I actually don't remember which one I picked up first. I either picked up Funhome by Alison Bechdel or Mouse first, and then quickly picked up the other one. These are both memoirs for Alison Bechdel, her growing up and figuring out she's a lesbian and finding out about her father's sexuality and things like that. And Mouse is a man talking to his father and sort of writing down the account of what his father tells him about being a Jewish person during the Nazi holding of, I think they're from Poland. Pretty sure they're Polish anyway. And it's all about his dad's experience with the Holocaust and all that sort of stuff, like concentration camps. I just love graphic novels in general, and I think they lend really, really well to non-fiction. Another one that I just wanted to quickly mention that I love is Follow Me In by Katrina Chapman. This is about her traveling Mexico with her alcoholic boyfriend, and we find out a lot about Mexico and about its heritage in this, but we also find out a lot about her, and she has a lot of self-revelations which are just absolutely fascinating. Non-fiction graphic novels are definitely one of my favourite things ever, so they are for the win. So the point I'm trying to illustrate with that is finding the sort of book that you like. If you really love poetry, there is non-fiction poetry out there. Undying: A Love Story is one of my favourite poetry collections in all of history ever. That's a non-fiction account of basically him dealing with the grief from his wife's passing. That's a very specific thing. If you like true crime, go and find some books around that. I really enjoy looking at the psychology behind serial killers, so I have a book called Talking with Serial Killers on my shelf. I have a book that focuses on the mind of Myra Hindley and why she did what she did. I enjoy that, so I have a lot of books on that. I really love artists and painting, so I have a lot of coffee table books about art. You know, they are something for me that I enjoy. I think they're in the other room, but I have books that are like going through all the films of the Harry Potter books, going through the Peaky Blinders TV show, got that one recently, going through the life of Charles Dickens, going through the life of Jane Austen. These are all things that I already have a vested interest in when I go into them, and that is the main thing with non-fiction. I don't tend to go for things that I don't already have a click with. That goes on to like my next recommendations, which are not in terms of the medium, so like enjoying graphic novels, enjoying audiobooks. It's more enjoying something on a very passionate kind of level, to the point where it probably is boring, and to anyone else it will be the most boring thing ever, but to you it will never be boring because it's your passion, it's your wheelhouse, that sort of a thing. So the first thing for that for me was writing. I really enjoy craft books. I was terrified of them at first. I thought writing craft books were going to be books that took apart sentences and talked about what verb was what and grammar, and I was like, I don't want to read that, that sounds boring and it sounds intimidating, no. And then I read On Writing by Stephen King and realised that is not what writing craft books are at all. Unless you look them up, you can find books like that, but I like the ones that is more the writer talking about their craft, their habit, things that they've learned in their lives, and that's exactly what this is. We also have What I Talk About When I Talk About Running by Haruki Murakami. This is kind of him talking about writing, more him talking about running and just his general lifestyle, but again, really enjoyed it. My favourite one probably so far that I've read is Zen and the Art of Writing by Ray Bradbury. He talks about his experience with short stories in here. He would basically like chain himself to a desk and make himself work on a short story a week and get it completely done, edited, everything done, send it off. It's a fascinating book. If you're into craft books, would recommend that one. And then I have this one, which is The Anatomy of Story by John Truby, which I'm putting here because this is what I said I was intimidated about. John Truby goes in really hard on story structure and on characters and all that sort of stuff. I haven't finished this yet, but he does go into that kind of detail that I said I thought would be intimidating and kind of boring and not something that I would like, and actually I absolutely love it, and this is one of the best writing books that I've read so far. Not just in terms of like finding out a lot, but in terms of I find it really fascinating. So just because you're intimidated by something doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be for you, because this is definitely a book for me, even though it is something that I was scared to read, if that makes sense. So yeah, writing craft. The next kind of interest that I really got into and just really thrived within and really love reading about is feminism. So when I was at university, I did a lot of feminism. I focused most of my essays on feminism, my dissertation was focused on feminism, and I read a lot of academic feminism. So I did about Judith Butler, Simone de Beauvoir, Adrienne Rich, people like that. When I left university, I kind of stopped reading those books because, you know, you leave university and you're like, blah, never touch academia again. And then time passes and you miss it and you realise like, oh no, I really like feminism, I want to read some more, but I don't want to read the academic feminism. And so then I got into the feminism books that you like find at Waterstones in the like gender studies section and stuff, and I really enjoyed them. So I think the first one I read was this one, which I think is a book that gets a lot of people into reading feminism. This is We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I did also read Dear Ijeawele, but this came out later. Absolutely love this. Loved it more than We Should All Be Feminists, to be honest. And another book that's like that is Women in Power by Mary Beard. It's another one of those like mini books that, you know, is very readable. She talks about the classics and she talks a lot about women being attacked in the media, talks a lot about smear campaigns of Hillary Clinton, which is just fascinating in general. And then I went on to more like books. So I read Everyday Sexism by Laura Bates, which is just a very important read for most people in my opinion, and Girl Up, also by Laura Bates. This is kind of the handbook on how to stop this from happening. So that's how I'd describe it. I also read Girls Will Be Girls by Emer O'Toole. This is fantastic, loved this. Again, it's like something that I think a lot of people wouldn't be interested in, but I have a vested interest, so I care about this non-fiction. The thing I'm trying to get across here is not recommending these books. I'm not recommending these books to you. If you like feminism, then sure, I will recommend you this book. This is a great book for people who like feminism, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to show you that if you want to get into non-fiction, the way to do it is not to follow other people's recommendations. It's not to go through videos and videos of people going, this is a great book, this is a great book, this is a great book, because it's probably not. If you're not someone who likes non-fiction, it's probably not going to be the book for you. The thing to do is find what you already like and go from there. If you're a huge Harry Potter fan, go and get the big History of Magic book that they did, the British Library. That's an amazing book and I loved it because I'm a Harry Potter fan. So it was a great thing for me to read. If you really like teen dramas, Gossip Girl and things like that, go and pick up the Bling Ring, because this is about celebrities and teenagers who want to be celebrities, and it's written in a very, very Gossip Girl kind of style. If you like graphic novels, go and find graphic novels that are non-fiction, because they are honestly to be celebrated. I enjoy them so much. If you're a big Elton John fan, Elton John's just had an autobiography come out. Go pick it up. It's more about finding the things that you already like, that you're already interested in. Go and bounce your non-fiction search off of that, and I think you'll have a lot more success than you would just trawling for recommendations, because I've done that before and I have tended to not love the books that I have read off of that, and that isn't through any fault of the person recommending them. It's just that's their wheelhouse, that's what they like, and you kind of need to find your own one and the things that you would enjoy, if that makes sense. That is a weird kind of recommendations video that's definitely not a recommendations video. I just feel like non-fiction is something that is hard to get into but is worth the trouble to get into, so I wanted to kind of help anyone who might be struggling with that. If you agree or disagree with me, please let me know down in the comments. If you are also interested in any of the things that I've just mentioned and have some recommendations for those specific things like graphic novels or feminism, non-fiction or anything like that, please put them in the comments below, because they're the things that I like and would love some recommendations. I hope this helps. I'm sorry if it doesn't. But yeah, thank you very much for watching and I will see you in my next video. Bye!